Hi, I'm Dr. Larry Malerba. Thanks for tuning in to All Things Homeopathy. In this episode, I will be comparing the homeopathic and allopathic perspectives regarding symptoms. More than just theory, our understanding of symptoms and the roles that they play should make all the difference in the way that illness is treated. From an allopathic perspective, a symptom is nothing more than a threat or an unnecessary annoyance, something to be eradicated. No real effort is made to understand why symptoms occur or what their meaning may be. Conventional medicine ignores these questions because it's preoccupied with its primary objective, which is combating symptoms. When the context and meaning of symptoms are overlooked, it can lead to unintended consequences. This, in essence, is the defining feature of allopathic medicine. It creates a vicious cycle, endlessly chasing symptoms in circles. You know what I mean. One drug is given for one problem, then another drug is prescribed for the side effects of the first drug, a third drug is then needed for yet another unanticipated issue, and so on. Around and around it goes like a game of symptomatic whack-a-mole. It's not unusual to look back and wonder whether treatment was worth it, whether it would have been better to just tolerate the original problem. In the end, patients are the ones who suffer from medicine's lack of awareness of the true nature of symptoms. It was Dr. Hahnemann who taught us that symptoms are warning signals generated by a distressed life force. Vitalism is an ancient theory that all life is governed by a principle that transcends biological and chemical considerations. Something more is at play, a governing energy, if you will. The Chinese call it qi, Hindus call it prana, Hahnemann called it the vital force. Mainstream medicine long ago discarded vitalism so as not to be in conflict with its materialist beliefs. Modern science might find the idea of a life force more palatable if it were referred to as a bioenergetic field or electromagnetic life force. In any event, if we accept the idea that a symptom is a distress signal, then it only makes sense to look deeper to try to understand the circumstances that led to that symptom. It certainly makes no sense to unthinkingly wage pharmaceutical war against it. That would amount to killing the messenger. And it's a dangerous proposition to ignore any messages that relate to one's health and well-being. When a parent punishes a child with undue harshness, and the child subsequently develops a thumb-sucking habit, is wrapping the thumb up so that the child can no longer get at it an adequate means of addressing the issue? Let's say the parent wraps the thumb, and the child then begins to complain of stomach aches. Will a drug aimed at settling the child's stomach get to the root of the problem, or is this just an example of symptomatic whack-a-mole? From a homeopathic perspective, all symptoms have a purpose. Most of the time we have no idea what that purpose is because human health is a complex and mysterious thing. Nevertheless, it behooves us to pay heed, to treat those symptoms with respect, because mishandling them can lead to even bigger problems. So if we accept that the fever, vomiting, aches, and chills of a person with the flu are there for certain reasons, one reason being that it's a defensive response to a flu virus, then it may not be so wise to try to extinguish those symptoms just because we find them inconvenient. From a homeopathic perspective, those flu symptoms are a function of the vital force's defense mechanism. In other words, they represent the body's best efforts to heal itself. And in the vast majority of cases, that effort is quite successful. Nature's innate wisdom is usually all that's needed. Most people will completely recover from a bout of the flu, regardless of how it's handled medically. Knowing this, homeopathy seeks to work with the life force's healing wisdom rather than against it. What better way to accomplish this than by stimulating the life force to continue its work? Homeopathy does this by administering small bioenergetic doses of a medicine made from a substance that mimics the symptoms of the sick person. When a person with the flu develops symptoms that are particularly severe or that persist beyond a reasonable duration, it may be a sign that the vital force is stuck. That the symptoms occurred at all is a sign of a functioning immune system. But sometimes the immune system gets bogged down, and that's when it needs help. A push in the right direction, if you will. That's exactly what a well-chosen homeopathic prescription can do. It assists the life force in its efforts to heal itself. The same concept applies to all symptoms, mental, emotional, or physical. All symptoms are distress signals. All symptoms are expressions of the life force. All symptoms represent the body's defense mechanism. They represent the vital force's efforts to heal itself. By the way, it's a common misunderstanding to say that homeopathy just treats symptoms. This is simply not true. Much of conventional medicine is aimed at symptomatic relief, oftentimes at the expense of overall well-being. Homeopathy uses symptoms as a means to a larger end, as clues that point to the remedy that can heal the whole. It's critical to learn about the dynamics of healing and to take them into account when treating illness. We can resist the wisdom of the life force, or we can choose to work with it. It's not always so black and white. There's a lot of gray area. Sometimes we must combat symptoms as a temporary measure, but much of the time it's preferable and sufficient to work with symptoms using a homeopathic approach in order to achieve genuine and lasting healing. Thanks for listening, and please join me again for the next episode of All Things Homeopathy.